Why did it? There it is. There it is.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Let's start that again because for some reason it killed the sound on that one. But
yeah, thanks stream for letting us know that there was no sound. Okay. So we appreciate that.
Can you guys hear us now?
we would have gone the whole stream.
Yeah, exactly.
With no sound.
I don't know why I turned the sound off, but
that's funny. No, but yeah.
So to kind of restart what he was talking about, Andres just joined us. Mm-hmm. And, a year ago. So you're like the newest recruit from Mixedcandy. And we used to work at home before. Then we went to a commercial shop where we spent 2 years. And that's where, Andres, you ended up coming in. Well, we had been there for just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we had been there for a year, pretty much.
Oh, for the commercial area?
Yeah, the commercial. Yeah. And then you joined us.
Exactly.
So that was one of those things that we wanted to try out because we were wanting to hire new people. And hiring people while you work at home is really complicated and it's kind of in the way of things. And of course, ends up not being 100% the best thing to do running out of your house when you have an HOA and everything, and you shouldn't be having like a used car lot outside your house.
Yeah, exactly.
So at first it was a good idea, especially when I started doing suits, when it was just like 2 people. We went from just me to 2 people and then even 3. But when we started having more than that, it just ended up being way too crowded. Yeah. So when Andres joined us, it was a lot nicer since we had moved into commercial property. And commercial property was pretty awesome, but at the same time, it had a lot of expenses that I wasn't ready for, and a lot of things that I had to kind of learn the hard way.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
say. So the thing that I wanted to bring up, especially if you are thinking about going into commercial property, is pretty much try to weigh out the pros and cons of moving out of your house into something that is, especially a commercial property, especially a place that has a sort of a storefront, because we could have foot traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
That was pretty much why you would pay more, because you were okay with having foot traffic. And the thing is we did have a little bit here and there. A lot of people would just kind of come in and stuff, but it wasn't what Mixedcandy wanted to be. We never just wanted to just open it up as a store, like you just walk into like Best Buy or you walk into Target or something. You wanted still the whole, people had to make appointments to kind of come in, but at the same time, we didn't have the time to do all that stuff. We just wanted a shop that we could work outside of the house, and I could have a house that I could just sleep and live in and be able to disconnect my life from work and be able to have a place where I could just relax.
Exactly.
Because that was one thing I never had in the past.
Yeah, and I always remember that you were always working at your home, and that took a bit of, it was a little soul crushing, because for the fact is that you can't differentiate between your home and work. So it sounds fun at first, where you're like, oh, I can just wake up and my work is right there. But honestly, it's not really that great. It's the whole act of you getting into the car and going to work is another thing that's actually very important. And you really put things into perspective when it came into that, which I thought was really interesting.
Well, it's like a lot of people talk about how it must be so nice to work from home. But the thing is they don't really realize, like, it's almost like your own prison. Yeah. So, yeah, you can technically, like, let's say, wake up and work in your pajamas all day. And, yeah, it sounds nice. But at the same time, it's weird, because it's nice to be able to just get into work clothes. It doesn't matter what it is. Change your clothes and stuff. Mentally, you feel like you're going to be doing something, like you should be getting to work. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of stuff that when you were at home, if you didn't pretty much boss yourself around, a lot of stuff wasn't going to get done. And that's the other thing too. It's almost like you don't know when to stop work. Even though, let's say you had stayed up all night and worked all the way to like 6 a.m. in the morning, sometimes the next day you're like, okay, I'm going to start work at 11. So it's a lot later, but at the same time you were ending it a lot later. So it's this horrible cycle of, I couldn't go downstairs because the house is 2-story, and not go into the garage and see work and not stop in the workroom to continue working until I literally fell asleep in my work. So that was like probably the most unhealthy environment that I had for many, many years. And the biggest reason was because I wanted to, save on money. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I couldn't afford to work like outside of my house. Mm-hmm. And the whole purpose of having a house that was bigger was that I could work in the house for as long as I could. But because I never thought of growing the business into more than just, me and my partner, I didn't think about moving it out until I decided that I need to do something healthier for my life, because my house was getting destroyed by work, first of all. So the house was never fully clean because work was everywhere. It was somewhat embarrassing to bring people over and having to say, excuse the fuzzies, the fur, the foam,
the fuzzies,
the scissors, the everything, because work lived with you.
Exactly.
Work was constantly on you. So it wasn't this like wonderful thing where people think about, oh, it must be so nice. Like you have fursuits all the time with you and work and everything. And it's like, it's not.
Yeah.
It was really kind of negative in the long run.
Although I do have to say that even though like right now we're working at a home, it's a separate home.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy it a lot personally because you know, when we used to work in the commercial area, we used to deal with a lot of solicitors, and it's fine. I mean, we don't mind having people like coming in. The only thing is, it was just a lot. You know how you get that junk mail?
Yeah.
It's essentially what it was, but with people where they're just like, hi, we want to sell you XYZ. And it's just like, we're working right now and we don't really have the time to afford to talk to you for like 30 minutes about sales and stuff. So that was the one thing that I was kind of like, ugh. But now we have a nice home that we can work in, and it's really awesome.
So you talked about home. It's because we ended up moving the business back into kind of a residential area because we decided that we work better in another building, but it doesn't have to technically be commercial just yet because we're not ready for that excess of foot traffic or that such a large building with so much extra expenses that come along with it. So we decided to buy a home for Mixedcandy itself. It ended up being a better investment in the long run. And the thing is it's legal to run your business out of a home, even if it is a place where you can live out of, just because we run our business on the internet. So if you sell online and you don't have people come to your house, you don't consider it a storefront, then it's totally fine. But the thing is, it's a lot cheaper in the long run to do it that way. And that was the one thing that took me 2 years to really understand, that the commercial property was cool and it was bigger than this house, because that place was about 2,000 square feet, and the place that we're currently in now is about like 1,400 square feet. It's still big. It's just that it's not as big as the shop. And the thing with the shop was that we had ample parking space. We had like just a lot of just space in general to do things, but we didn't own the place. So everything that happened there, I had to go through the landlord. I had to like beg and plead, like, please, we need this done and all that. And we encountered a lot of issues with that. And that's one of those things that I even said, we need to own a place, because in the future, I mean, I can't deal with this. Our air conditioning broke.
Yeah, exactly.
It flooded a couple of times after the hurricanes. We had mold issues.
Yeah, we found out about the mold issues when we were actually moving to the new place. We're like, oh, okay.
It was so bad. It's just one of those things that our landlord was nice. He was really nice. But he wasn't on top of a lot of things when we asked. And we had 2 hurricanes hit the shop, and the shop had a lot of issues inside. And you can tell that the walls and the wiring and everything was done not legally.
Yeah,
there was a lot of stuff that was just very poorly put together, which maybe makes sense why we found it for a little bit cheaper for rent. Who knows? And the place wasn't super desirable to be over there, because it was an area where a lot of just like not storefront type stores, because even the landlord said, you're not going to find a whole lot of people that are going to want to come over here just because it's out of the way. Like, a lot of people don't think about coming over here to, like, come to a store and stuff.
We did have some people that attempted to come
to
a store.
So the thing about renting that was funny, and it was also not great, was we had to share the building with neighbors. Yeah. Which, yes, we're currently in a residential property and we do share neighbors, but we're technically not connected wall to wall. It's not like living in an apartment where you're just going to share the walls. So at first I thought, okay, we have work neighbors. That's going to be fine. I don't have an issue with that at all, because, I mean, it's fine to share. But the problem was, before you came along, we had, it was like a car repair shop that also did painting and just random stuff to vehicles and whatever they could get their hands on. And it wasn't very clean. And they would like to paint their cars outside, pretty much on top of our cars. So you would see overspray wanting to come towards our cars. So I'd have to go talk to them, like, not to do that. They were also dumping a ton of paint on the grass and just killing everything. And just making a giant mess and bringing all the cars that they were working on and completely taking over our parking spots. So they were horrible to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
And they kept on using our dumpster. And that was the other thing, too. So when you buy a house, rent a house, a lot of the times you'll have trash bins. And then you have your trash pickup like once or twice a week. At this new place, we have it twice a week, which is actually a really positive thing. But at the other place, we needed a dumpster. Mm-hmm. And the dumpster was expensive per month. And a lot of people didn't get that through their head that you don't touch other people's dumpsters unless, like, you know, you ask. Like, if they wanted to throw,
like, dumpster fights. Yeah, it's my dumpster.
If you wanted to throw, like, one thing away, that's fine. But when you find full car parts in there and that take up a ton of space and your dumpster's kind of based on weight, that doesn't fly very well with me.
Like, nope.
It's just kind of like, well, what are you doing, right? So I got into a couple of arguments with those people, and I felt bad because I felt like the nagging mom. Mm-hmm. Like, don't do this, don't do that, and they wouldn't listen. And the problem is eventually when they did leave, I found out the guy that owns that place also lives in my neighborhood, and that made it really awkward when I went to go walk the dogs. We just kind of stared at each other. Like, oh,
it's like, hey,
you live in my neighborhood. We were not very friendly to each other, so I'm going to walk the other way, and I'll never walk my dogs over here again, so I don't have awkward party. So that was one of those things that...
We also had bums, too.
We had bums, but it's like... but you have to go in succession. Like, it was like car people were first.
Yep.
And then we had... it was like months of nobody there. This is before you arrived. Oh, months of nobody there. And it was nice. It was peaceful. I was going to say, it must have been real nice. And all we kept on thinking was like, well, maybe we'll think about renting the second place. Because there was a door that connected mine to the one like right next to me pretty much. So you could rent both at the same time. And I was thinking like, wow, if like Mixedcandy grows like big enough, maybe we could rent both. And I was like, oh, like I wonder if I can get some sort of like rent cut or something if I was renting both places for X amount of years. But before I could do anything, the place got rented, but they didn't technically move in. So it had technically been rented for a while, but the people had just not moved in. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know who they were. And then the landlord told me, oh, the neighbors you're getting it's a church. And I said, great, it's a church. They're not going to bother anybody. They're probably going to have really odd hours. And
little did she know.
Yeah, it's not going to be an issue. Well, it turned out to be the worst neighbors we've ever had in our lives. Like, they were literally like just horrible. I don't understand like how it went from having neighbors that I thought, well, you know, church people will be really friendly and no big deal, but they were just so inconsiderate and mean and destructive, and I got into so many issues with these people that I don't know why. I was friendly at first because they were my new neighbors, but no, Kyle, they were not cultists. They were just like regular. It was a regular.
Kyle, you know what's up.
Yeah, it was just a regular church. But it was weird because it's these weird little pop-up churches that they just kind of like stick into like a strip mall, because where we had the place, it was a strip mall, you know, in a way, and it was tiny. So I didn't really understand how they were going to have like their sermons and stuff with more than like, I don't know, 15 people. But they managed to get like, I don't know, like 50 people in there. They were shoving a ton of people in there. They were
really packing it in there.
Like, definitely fire hazard.
Yeah.
100% not legal having that many people in there. So they get all these people in there and they start tearing up the place and they make a lot of trash. And you're just like, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden they start using our dumpster.
It's like, using my dumpster?
Well, were you there when we found the toilet in the dumpster? And we drove it? So they threw toilets in our dumpster.
Okay.
And toilets are heavy. So we knew that our dumpster, when we threw stuff away, it was always like foam and fur and plastic and, you know, cardboard boxes and duct tape dummies. We didn't throw toilets out. So it was like random toilets in there and carpet.
Jesus, and we don't need those toilets.
Yeah, it was like they remade the place inside. They actually did a good job like remaking it inside. But they decided that the dumpster was like the local dumpster for everybody, which I thought was weird. I'm like, no, that doesn't work like that. So I had a chat with them. I told them, hey, and, the same thing had to do with the previous people. So I felt like I had to repeat myself, but it was fine. They were fine. They were nice about it. And then they kept on throwing stuff away in our dumpster over and over and over again. And I'm just like, I know you guys understand me, but you just don't want to care enough to stop or something. That was the part that I didn't get. So I had to talk to them again, and then they got angry with me saying that they didn't make enough trash to want a dumpster because the dumpster was too expensive a month. And I said, that's cute, but you're also filling up our dumpster, and we can't even throw our trash away. So I'm not paying for mine to like help you guys throw stuff in there. So it was like a really weird disconnect. And I mean, it sounds super petty, arguing about
that's my dumpster.
Who owns the dumpster? But when you're at places like this and every single location has their own dumpster, you do kind of get defensive about your stuff, especially when people don't listen and you've been nice about it. Mm-hmm. So then they started having picnics and parties and all this. And remember all the trash? Just trash everywhere. And the thing with the landlord, he said, try to keep the place nice. Yep. And after the car people had moved out that were pretty much burning the grass and just destroying everything, they were the ones that started trashing everything. And then, of course, if you called them out, they would get mad at me every single time. So we spent a lot of time.
The power of Christ compels you.
I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I didn't know I was doing anything that wrong.
Yep.
And so I wanted to keep the place clean. And the landlord appreciated that I cleaned the place. But at the same time, I felt like I didn't need to clean like 30 juice boxes outside from every party that they had with the kids. And then water bottles and just paper plates and all this stuff. And it was just garbage.
Yeah,
because
but I'm gonna need to like slide in right there, because one thing is the trash, but another thing is when we started seeing people sleeping in their cars.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? Where it's like literally where the dumpster is where we had this one occasion where this one car literally just parked behind our shop, and you always saw like 2 people inside the car. So for us, it was pretty scary because we're like, who are these people?
Well, we had a back area, almost like we had a bay door in the back that opened like a garage, and then it was like the dumpster area, and you could also park about 3 other cars in the back if you really wanted to. It was just kind of left open to do as you wish with it. But Tori's in there now.
Oh, Tor Pink. Hey, Tori. No, but one thing that Cal Morris says is when you're paying for it, then it's not petty. It's a matter of principle, which should really be common sense, which I agree 100%.
I agree as well. And it was just one of those things that I felt bad having to argue about that, but I had to bring it up so much that I started feeling like I was like that nagging mom, or I was crazy. So I would try not to bring it up so much because I'm like, oh, I'll just let it slide for now. But like he said, like they started bringing in really sketchy people wanting to live in their cars in the back of our garage area. So we just wake up in the day, like, open our door and random people are outside, and that wasn't fun. And the one guy that he's talking about was the guy that was there, and he would just make eye contact with us in the car.
Yeah, exactly. Very weird.
And looked super sketchy. And of course, we see a man in the car with another person that we could barely see, but we could see another person kind of moving around, and they're smaller. And we freaked out. And I'm just like, well, I'm going to try to approach the car maybe. But in Florida, everybody has a gun. So we just kind of...
In Florida, everybody does have a gun.
So I got close enough to the vehicle, and I saw that the guy was making eye contact with us, but wouldn't come out of the car.
Yeah.
And
very
just
weird.
Had the car running. So I was like, hey, and nothing. He wouldn't interact with us. And so I'm just like, okay, this is super creepy. I walk inside, I tell them, and I'm like, I'm just going to call the police because I'm just not going to approach this person.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, they're not coming out of the car. I don't know
safe than sorry.
why. Yeah, it's like why they have the car running in the back. I'm like, this is dumb. Mm-hmm. So we called the police because I remember we filmed this. We're just like, this is going to turn into some shootout or something weird. But it didn't, thankfully. And it was a misunderstanding, which I was happy about. It was just a person that had lost their home.
No, yeah,
it
what
was
happened?
The mom.
Yeah, they were actually from the church. And it was essentially for them a place to stay because I mean, obviously it was right next to the church, so it was going to be safe. But yeah, it was actually a really sad story because she was homeless essentially.
Yeah, she had been like evicted. It was like the mom of one of the churchgoers there, but he also worked for the newspaper printing place that was like 3 neighbors down. So
it was convenient.
It was convenient. So they wanted to live there for the next couple of days before that they figured out a situation for the mom. And the cop's like telling me this whole thing, and I'm like, well, this would have been really easy if the guy came out of his car, not looked like he was doing something shady, and said, hey, do you mind if we stay here for the next like 4 days? Because they stayed over there over the long weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said to the cop, look, as far as I know what they're doing, and I know that he's not going to like, try to break into the shop or burn the place down or anything like that, I don't have an issue. I'm like, that's fine.
Exactly.
So that was one of those things that it scared us. It ended up being a misunderstanding more than anything. I'm still glad we called the police because I mean, it's kind of bad that you the first thing is you jump to conclusions that somebody's going to do something wrong, but it was fine. So it was one of those things but that was one of those weird things. And then Andres was talking about homeless people.
Yep.
Which that turned into a huge problem.
Yeah. So no kidding. It was literally right next door to the shop.
So the shop was like a strip mall type shop. So you had 6 different little places, and we had the one all the way in the corner, and we faced this nature preserve on the side. So nothing was going to be built there, and it's just woods. And that's the one thing I will say I do miss from the shop at the other place. These giant windows, when it would rain, it would just the trees would move and everything. And it felt like you were out in the forest. And I actually really, really loved that about the shop. That's what made me fall in love with that location and for me to want to rent it, because it was close enough to my house, but it had such a beautiful view. But the thing is we didn't realize that it was full of homeless people. A lot. And it's
like a campground.
It was, it really was. Yeah. And I didn't know that. And I mean, it's not one of those things that you find this place, because I found this place on Craigslist, and it goes just ignore the homeless people outside. It's got a great view. Just avoid the homeless that like to pop up at night at random and steal your water and, scare the crap out of you, literally. So I didn't know about this until I started seeing them popping out of the woods. And we had Publix right next door too. So they would come out. A lot of them would just bring out jugs, steal our water from our building. I wasn't complaining about it just because water was included in our rent. The only time that the landlord said that he would charge us more was if he saw a spike in water usage.
Yeah.
But most of the time I would just see random people coming out with water jugs.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I was like, whatever, this is odd. And then I would just see them rush back into the woods, which was scary because it's Florida.
It's like the Yeti. It's do they exist?
Yeah, exactly. It's Florida. So you're just you're living out there. That's the woods in Florida. It's full of spiders and bugs of every kind and snakes. It gets
hot and muggy.
And it gets hot, and it's just, and during the summer, it's hurricane season, and it floods, and it's just, I mean, it's not very friendly to keep people out there. I mean, the one good thing is we don't have snow, but at the same time, it's not, I wouldn't say it's super great. I say our woods kind of are not fantastic for that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
for the forever camping.
No.
But we started seeing families coming in and out. And that was the one thing, because even with Roscoe and stuff, we saw literally a family get Ubered to our shop, dropped off with kids and everything, which is actually kind of sad. And then they ran into the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, what is going on? But again, we're just we don't know what to do and everything. I guess we'll just leave them there. I ended up calling the police, not to nag on them. I just to see what to do. Hey, should I be concerned? It is private property in some of that area. I know some of it is private property, and other parts is owned by the city. And the police did come and said, no, they don't do anything. They've been living there for 11 years, and they shouldn't bother you. Okay, no big deal. That's fine, because a couple of them had popped up at night.
Yeah.
And a lot of the lights in the main building would get turned off after 8. And I would sometimes stay till 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
sometimes later, and the lights would be off, and I have a little flashlight at the end of my light. So sometimes I'd have my flashlight out, and then I would shine it around to see where my car was, and I would shine it into someone's face. And that's extremely scary because when it's some random man coming out of the woods and it's 3 a.m, it's not fun.
You're like, well, I'm going to get robbed.
Yeah. So that was the thing that I had to tell the cops, and they were just like, well, as long as they're like respecting your space and you guys aren't like in conflict, then it won't be an issue. I said, no, it's fine. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't violent.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They weren't from what we could tell. But we did have an issue with them, and eventually they were kicked out, not because of us.
Wasn't it like a fire?
It was a fire.
Yeah.
So nobody likes starting fires in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
You know, and we do have a dry season here, and when it is dry season, things do just catch on fire. Mm-hmm. And that is in the middle of the woods, and these people decided to have some sort of barbecue or some sort of fire, and it kind of got out of control. And the neighbor that we had in front of us was the storage units, and he lives there because there's an apartment there too, and he saw a huge fire just coming out, and he came over to our end and said, did you guys start a fire? I'm like, I'm seeing a fire somewhere. Either way, I called the police, I called the fire station showed up. What's going on? There's fire coming out of the woods. They just decided to
yeah, exactly. It's like, well, okay,
have a bonfire in the middle of the woods.
Why not?
which wasn't the best thing to do.
You're like, my fur!
Yeah, so I freaked out because I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, if the building burns down, like, how's insurance going to take care of all this stuff? I'm like, is it going to burn all the buildings? I mean, because the fire was, like, right there. So it wasn't, like, me just panicking over nothing. It was a big deal. Mm-hmm. So the police said, we have told them they need to leave. And the fire department was like, nah. You guys have been here for 11 years, and then all of a sudden you decide to burn the place, then you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you guys got to leave.
Yeah.
Which is sad because it's like they had been living peacefully for a long time, clearly 11 years, but then all of a sudden they changed their tune, and it's like, oh, why are you burning the place? So that was always a bummer. But they ended up leaving. They gave them like a weekend, like a couple of days, like 4 or 5 days to leave. They said after that time, if they're still there, they would get arrested. And I was like, oh, wow, like that's a mess. And then you feel bad because it's like these people had a really,
they had a good thing going
it's like
with the woods.
The best thing, I guess, because they didn't have a place to live before.
Yep.
But it was just one of those things that...
Hello, the wolf.
Hey. I felt bad. It was just one of those, like, I genuinely felt bad. So we had that issue with them. And then I kept on having more and more issues with the church. The
it
church,
always comes back to the church.
It was sad because they kept on coming back with them and everything. And they eventually stopped talking to me. They would ignore me. They did call me the mean lady all the time.
That was her name, is the mean lady.
The mean lady. And then the other person that used to work with me before, they would try to get her attention and be like, you work with that mean lady. It's like, we don't understand why you work with her. It's like she's pretty much like possessed by something. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, but oh yeah.
Yeah, tour paint. They liked me. They gave me hamburgers.
No,
I'm like, yeah, they did.
So
we
would send Tori to go make friends with them because I couldn't talk to them anymore because the main guy who was in charge of everything really disliked me a lot because I saw that me talking to them, I don't know if it was because they just didn't care or whatever, just the way they were. They didn't want to pay attention. So I ended up writing letters, but maybe my giant letters that I was writing with highlighter in the areas that I didn't like don't trash the place, don't use my dumpster, don't do this, don't park in every single spot, because that was the other thing too. When you rent, you get a couple of spots, like no matter what. So it was like right in front of the building, from our door over to a certain part of the wall, you had 4 parking spots, and then you had another 3 to 4 in the back. So you had like 8 parking spots total, which is a lot, and it was great. But whenever they had church time, they would take all the parking spots. They would even take over the newspaper people's parking spots, and this other place that had props that they were selling for a little bit.
Inconsiderate.
It was inconsiderate. Yeah. And the thing is they had church like twice a week. And then on the weekends, they would be there sometimes. Like, they would have, like, their picnics and stuff. And at first, we're like, it won't matter because it's after hours. But I was working after hours so much. And I would tell them, please just leave at least one spot open. I'm the one that usually stays here late. Yeah. Not every person that is employed here doesn't stay late. It's usually me. At least leave one spot open.
And you also had, like, that one warning sign where it's like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like for your customers only, or, like, you guys, employees only.
So every time you go to a place, like a restaurant or a store, it'll say, like, customer parking only. But I couldn't paint that on the ground. Because the landlord said, well, don't alter the building. Yeah. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do if I put a sticker down on the ground? It's nobody's going to see that. And I couldn't put anything on the wall itself that said Mixedcandy parking only because it would be altering the wall. So what we did is we grabbed concrete, a tub pretty much, like, and just made like this concrete pillar with a stick and a sign that said no parking in this area for at least one spot, and I put Mixedcandy stickers all over it just to kind of tell people, like, this is our spot, please don't use this. They started throwing it, kicking it. They threw stuff at it, like food, because it was like dirty.
It was like a game to them, pretty much.
It turned into a joke, and I'm just like, why? We respect your spots. We don't touch your things. We don't ever do anything like nasty with your property. Why do you guys treat our property like garbage? And it was just constant fight. And it was ridiculous. Every morning I would find it on the ground pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Thrown and just a mess. And I just didn't get it. I'm like, these people have literally started a war with us for no apparent reason.
Yeah, and it was the looks. Every time you left, they just gave you that stink eye. And just
it was terrible. Everything was like, I felt like when there's two dogs that are like protecting their territory. Yeah. It's just that we weren't peeing on each other. We were just like, it was funny. Like a stare down of like, this is my spot. And I'm going to wait here and stare you down as you drive away in your tiny smart car because you're so threatening in that vehicle. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of like, seriously? Like, just, I felt so dumb. Like, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll deal with this. This isn't fun. I hate coming to work with these people here. Yeah. I was like, and it was just one of those things that I'm like, I didn't want to attack them any other way because it's like, look, it was nothing against them being a church. It was just them being like disrespectful. And they were way older than we were. All of us. I mean, all of them were. And that was the part that I didn't understand. I thought, well, if you're older, you'd probably be even more respectful of everything. But clearly you weren't. And then we got a pickup truck for the business. And they decided that the pickup truck was their trash bin. Because it was full of, like, containers of drinks and cans and just, like, plastic forks and knives. And it was just a mess all the time with that. And it was a combination of them and, of course, the newspaper people all the way at the end. And that was another mess, which you didn't get to deal with them as much.
No, I didn't. Just tell me about it. It's bad.
Because the newspaper people would show up at midnight. And they would work probably till, like, 7 or so. And when they would work till that time, they would hire some really scary people. And some of the people that would come in would have like pit bulls and stuff, which I was like, all right, I love dogs and I will pet everybody's dog. It doesn't care how scary of a dog you try to have because they were all friendly. Mm-hmm. But they would try to look intimidating. And especially like, I don't know if you were there that day that the dog, it was one of the pit bulls, walked into the area where I had the flowers and stuff and the garden that we were growing. No. And it had like a choker and it was looking all tough and I was like, puppy! And then the dog's like wagging his butt and stuff. Oh no. Yeah, and the guy was trying to look all hard. And I was like, pat, pat, pat. It's like you just have a cute dog. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's a pit bull. It's like it's a puppy. If you call it puppy, then they're all like friendly. Yeah, exactly. But it was weird because they would usually pop up at night and they were really, really nasty with me. And sometimes they would just like try to do stuff to kind of scare me. Especially when the lights were out. And I'm like, I'm kind of done with this. Yeah. I'm like, I really dislike being spooked in the middle of the night, stared down at, and just felt extremely unsafe a lot of the time. Even though I'm not going to go to the shop with a gun. I'm not going to go to the shop with any of this stuff. Because I know in my mind it'll just get used against me and I'll get killed that way. So the way I looked at it, I was like, I'll just ignore them. They'll eventually be gone, or I'll be gone. And that's why we spent like the 2 years there, because we had so many things pop up over and over and over. And we did have some good neighbors. Like for a little bit, we had these neighbors that bought props from Netflix shows. Mm-hmm. And that's where all these tables, cool. These tables that we have at the shop, pretty much almost every single table was from this little shop. And they would just buy just random stuff. And they're like, oh, they use these tables in this Netflix show and that Netflix show. And we just buy lots and lots of stuff. And a lot of things we just give them away. And they were wanting to move because they ended up moving to LA to sell a lot of stuff over there. And they had a ton of these really good, sturdy IKEA tables that I love for sewing because they're much better than those folding tables because they don't wiggle around when you sew. Mm-hmm. But they just gave them to us. So we ended up replacing all these really rickety, nasty tables we had forever that were not great for sewing. And we replaced them with these really awesome tables. And we still have all of them. Yeah,
we still have. We have one that I love. That's like the wooden table that we have outside in the porch.
Well, that's another one from like some it's like a prison show or something exactly. That they had that was from Netflix. So they gave us all this stuff to just take, and I'm like, wow, this is really awesome. They're really sweet people. They give us lights, wardrobe stuff, and things to put clothing in. I mean, just there was like a ton of stuff they were giving us, and it was really, really awesome. Oh yeah, there you go. Tori said Bloodline. Bloodline. Yeah, there was. I think it was another cop show that they worked with, but they were cool. And then they left, but they were only there for like 6 months, I think, or something. Okay. Yeah, they weren't there very long, and but those were good neighbors. So if we had neighbors more like that, we would have never cared.
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been fine. So it was sad because like even when we did leave, we did meet the other neighbors that moved in to where they were, mm-hmm. And they were building kitchen cabinets and just random stuff like for the house. And They were super friendly, super nice people. I even said I'm actually bummed out leaving when I see good people moving in here.
But the questionable ones always stay.
So then I'm going to let Andres tell the story of the favorite person.
Oh, yeah.
So
once I hear favorite person, I hear the old shop. Yeah. So this happened, I want to say, probably like a good, I want to say now 6 or 7 months ago. Something. It was like
August of last year or something, because it was right before we left.
Yeah. So usually on my breaks, I like to go outside because I bring my Vape Nation, and I go outside. I go outside to vape. And there was this one time where you get the weed whacker guys who just, obviously they cut the grass and everything. And usually I like to be a nice guy. If somebody's like right in my general vicinity, I like to say hi. So there was this one guy that was passing by, and I was like, hey, how you doing? Just a simple hey. And this guy was wearing like these headphones. He had his like dark NASCAR shades on, looking very unkempt or whatever. But I didn't care.
Grass, it didn't matter.
I didn't care. I just said hi as a courtesy, and I was like, hey, what's up? And that's it. I didn't even expect for him to say anything. And as I was going to the table, he takes off his headphones and he goes, what did you say about my mom? And I just look at him and I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you're talking smack about my mom, aren't you? And I'm like, I didn't say anything about your mom. I said hello. And he goes, oh, okay. Because, if you were talking smack about my mom, things would have turned out way differently. And he goes back to work. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? I was like, did you just threaten me? I was so flabbergasted. I was like,
you come inside.
Yep.
And I'm just like, all right, doing my thing in the office. And you're like, I think the lawn guy threatened to kill me with his weed whacker.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Which one was it?
Yep.
Because I'm going to report this. That's not cool, man.
Yep.
Because you're just like, don't go outside and start a fight. And I'm like, I'm not going to go pick a fight with the guy that has a weed whacker.
Yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to do.
I was like, no. I'm like, point him out. And then in point him out, I saw his shirt. I knew where we came from. And I called the company. I told them. And it was kind of sad because the company just went, ugh. We know exactly who you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll take care of that. That's not cool. Yes, we've had issues with him multiple times. So either the guy loves to start fights with people. I mean, who the heck knows? This guy was messed up in the head, like bad.
He looks like he was a little like under the influence.
Yeah, you could definitely tell he was on some sort of drugs or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Something was not right.
And it was no party drug, that's for sure.
No, it was
it was something hard.
I mean, we have a ton of issue with meth in the area, and so I guess I'll just assume he was on something. I'm not going to say he was on meth because I don't know if he was. Yeah. But it's a big thing in Claremont. Like meth is like a huge thing. So that was one of those like, oh great, this guy's probably like super scary.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way he reacted was really weird.
Well, the way he was talking to me sounded like he was on something, and I was like, he did not look like he was drunk or anything, but he looked like he was under some type of drug. But that's why it was kind of crazy. I think honestly, more than anything else, when I said hi to him, I think he was under the influence, and that's why he acted the way he acted. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah, it was weird because like when you were telling me this stuff, I'm like, who immediately jumps from like, hey man, what's up, to like, what did you say about my mom?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, okay. Like, it just shows that you're already on edge about something.
Yeah,
like something's broken already. So of course I call him. He gets fired on the spot, which we were like, ooh. Yeah. So the truck comes and picks up everybody else that was working there, and they didn't pick him up. They threw his bags outside. And we were watching through the mirror because through the window, and we're just kind of like, oh god, like this is bad. Like this guy's gonna come back in here and he's gonna just like break the windows, like trash our cars, try to hurt us.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this isn't fun. So they left this guy, and you could tell he was really frustrated. Like, oh no, like what's gonna happen? And he's like waiting in the corner to see if somebody would pick him up. So we're kind of like watching our cars like, oh, this is not a fun day. Everybody's already like on edge. Yeah. You were like, I'm never going outside to vape again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm vaping inside, guys. Damn it.
so that's having a heart attack. Like, I'll never talk to anybody. I don't want to be friendly. Everybody wants to kill me. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm just kind of laughing like, oh, this is bad. But at the same time, I didn't expect this guy to be like so unhinged.
Yeah, exactly.
So he comes back. He decides to come back.
Like and banging on the door, like
bam, 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 bam. So I'm doing something in the other room, and it's just because technically at a shop, the way that they had told us, you're supposed to keep your door unlocked so people can just kind of come in and out. But the way that people were in the area, I never felt safe keeping the door unlocked, especially with people like this. Mm-hmm. So I would keep it closed, and I frosted the windows and everything, especially on the door, because there was like 2 window panes for the door, because I didn't want people to just see inside. So this guy comes back just knocking like crazy, and I think I asked one of you guys, who is it? And you were like, it's that guy, he's back. I'm like, oh no, like what do we do now? I'm like, this is so stupid. And I was already kind of mad. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this guy. This is gonna be bad. And then I go to the door, and you're kind of behind us, because like I went up to the door, Tori went up to the door, we're all kind of there, and I'm like, yes, like, did you need something? Because he was knocking, like, ready to break that window down. He was mad. He said, I need to talk to the person that got me fired.
Yep.
And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, well, one of you guys. And then right away,
he saw my face,
You popped up, and it was like, you got me fired.
Yeah.
It was you.
Yeah, I was just
and he was so mad, and I'm just like...
He's like, you're going to have to call my boss and apologize. And I'm just like, I'm going to call your boss at all, man. It's like, no.
No, you said, well, maybe you shouldn't have threatened my life. Dude, I did not threaten your life. Remember?
Yeah,
he got
exactly.
like, super mad.
He was trying to give us like his like sad life story and everything. And then he's like, you're going to have to call my boss. And I'm just like, I ain't doing anything.
And he was just really mad. Yes, understandable, you're really mad. You just lost your job. But maybe, like, you know, treat your job with respect and don't threaten people and act like a crazy crackhead. So it's like, okay, well, he just decided I'm going to be all nasty about it. And I was like, please stop. Like, look, just leave. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to sue all of you. And all of you are going to go to jail and go to jail forever. And you're going to get to talk to my lawyer. And I'm like, go away.
Yeah,
literally,
exactly.
I was like, go away.
Yeah, you're like, all right, bye.
And I just went, I literally went, I was like, all right, we're done. Because when they start talking all this just random verbal diarrhea, literally, I just closed it. Bye, goodbye. So we just closed the door. And of course, we're like peeking through the curtain in the other room, because I'm like, he's gonna destroy our cars. I'm like, I got my phone ready. Like, I'm at least recording this, so I have evidence that if he trashed anything, because I mean, what are you gonna do?
Exactly.
And but he was just upset outside, and then he just disappeared. I'm like, okay, like, great, dude left.
You're like, all right, it's done.
You're like, it's done. And then, like, you're like, I'm not vaping outside. I'd rather just suffocate.
I was just going to go to the back.
In the back. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You're, like, vaping in the little garage area.
Yeah.
And I was like, Andres, why don't you go? And I never want to see the sun again. I'm like, I'm just going to hide forever. So it became kind of like this, like, little joke with us. Like, oh, we kept on saying, Weed Whacker Man is back. Yes. Weed Whacker Man. And, like, making the noise. But then a couple of months passed, and we had bought this place, and we were moving into this place and everything already, or we had just moved. And then we had to go gas up. We were going somewhere, all of us together. And it was your car, my car, and I think Tori's car too.
7-Eleven.
And we went to 7-Eleven, which is really close to the old shop. And you went inside, I think, to get some cash or something?
No. Tori went inside. I actually stayed in the car. I was filling up, and I was staying in the car outside, and then I saw his face, and I was like, oh, God, he's there. And he saw me, too. I saw the guy, and he saw me, too. And he went through the back of the 7-Eleven. I don't know why, but maybe to, like, I don't know, like do drugs or something. But I just remember I was just like, oh, man, I don't want to have this awkward conversation of talking to this weed whacker dude. Ex-weed whacker dude. And no, he didn't really say much, but all he said was... he was just like, oh, you guys filling up gas, huh? Filling up the gas. And
and he started getting really close to our vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
And I look at you in Spanish, and I was like, yeah, I look at you in Spanish.
Look at you in Spanish.
I look at you, and I say to you in Spanish, we got to go. Yeah. Like, get in your car, and we just have to leave. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, let's just leave. And the guy kept on saying stuff. I had my windows rolled up, and I'm like, whatever. I don't want to hear this guy. This guy's crazy. And it looked like he was heading back to the old shop. And I'm just like, I wonder if this guy thinks like, well, I'll just beat them to the old shop and over there I'll start a fight with them. The thing is we had already moved out. Because I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm so glad we're not at the old shop. This crackhead knows where we are. Like this is terrible. And that was the end of that until...
the end, question mark?
Until... 3 days ago?
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah, it just happened this week. And I was coming back from taking the dog to the vet, and went to go get some lunch, and I like to take the back way, which is around the old shop, because where we have the new place, it's not super crazy far. So it's just like, okay, we'll go around, and we go over there. I mean, I go over there because I'm by myself, and I see this guy walking on the street, and I don't pay attention to who's walking the street. I'm just like, whatever. And this guy just gets really mad because I had to stop before I did my right turn, and I'm just staring at him, and I must have had like the dumbest look in my face. I kind of like, who is this? And then he's just running at me, screaming a bunch of stuff because I have my windows rolled up. And then he grabs his water bottle, throws it at me, and starts running towards my car, like clearly upset. And then my head just did the connection, like, oh, it's Weed Whacker Man.
Yeah, it's like, he's back.
It's like Weed Whacker Man's back. He's like Freddy Krueger. Like, you can't kill him or Chucky or anything like that. It's like, this dude just won't just go away. And that was the thing. So I'm like, are you kidding me? And so I like turned to kind of come to my new place, and I'm like driving, and I'm like, if I can see him in my rearview mirror, I'm just going to continue driving because I'm not going to show him wherever the new shop is.
Yeah, exactly.
And, but I didn't really fully see him. Like, he was, like, running at my car, but I don't know if he stopped after a certain point because it's like, well, he's, like, running in flip-flops. I don't know how far he's going to get like that. And, but I decided to go, like, the long way back into the shop. And I get here, and I tell Tori and Andres, great, I just had an encounter with Weed Whacker Man. And
I thought after moving to a new place, I was like, we were never going to hear from him again.
No, I never thought that too. Well, he's probably, the way he was coming is, he looks like he's living in the woods, because he's homeless now.
Yeah.
Pretty much, definitely.
No, I think he was homeless before that as well, but I think why he was so mad was, I don't think he's gotten a job ever since he got fired from that landscaping
the landscaping place.
Yeah.
But it was bad because I'm like, oh no. And it kind of worried. Like today I even I had to go behind Publix and stuff. And I kind of looked over to my side and I'm like, I'm going to find this crackhead over here again. I'm like, I'm really sick of this. Mm-hmm. So again, had to call the non-emergency number, report it. Because I report every time like this guy's done something. The police told me what to do. And they're like, look, if he bothers you again, you're going to have to file a restraining order. All this good stuff. I'm just like, this is so stupid. Like this guy's just nutty. And it just bothers me that I'm like, we moved to the new place. We don't want to drag issues from the old place. I understand.
Start fresh,
This guy's held like a nasty grudge. I get it. You're mad. And yeah, you should be because you lost your job. But at the same time, it's your fault for having started this stuff. And we were just kind of defending ourselves. But that was the one thing that I would say just was kind of a bummer with that. But then we had Bicycle Man.
Oh, Bicycle Man. Valen, you gotta say this. This story is hilarious.
So our joke is like everybody's man, something man.
Weed Whacker Man, Bicycle Man.
Bicycle Man. It's like, we think like Florida Man. So it's just like, there's this, because we're in Florida. It's like, what sort of malfunction are we going to find today with somebody's going to do something bad. So we had this incident with this person that we call Bicycle Man. And it started with an email, a couple of emails, like 2-3 days back. I got a couple emails that were...
Hold on. The Wolf says, I'm back. What happened? We were just talking about this guy, the Weed Whacker Man, of how he was making our lives quasi-miserable because he was always just being a pain. But overall, it wasn't too bad. Hopefully, he doesn't come back. But yeah, Weed Whacker Man, bad.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Weed Whacker Man, bad. But this other guy, the Bicycle Man... Yeah, different.
Bicycle Man.
Bicycle Man. He decided to send me an email 2-3 days before the encounter was supposed to happen. So he sends me an email saying like, hey, I need to go to your shop. I really want to see your fursuits. I need to feel them up close. I need to do all this stuff. We'd recommend Bicycle Man. What about
the Muffin Man?
No, there's no scary Muffin Man yet.
Cassandra knows what's up. That's funny.
But it's just... It was one of those things that you're just kind of like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? But this guy sends me a message, asking all this stuff. And I nicely said, Mixedcandy isn't open for walk-ins. Like if you want a suit and stuff, like wait till we're open. Like we can quote all this stuff. Like make sure you have concept art, like the typical spiel that I tell people. And he didn't like that. He said, no, I'm coming to your shop. I'm going to watch you work. And that's how it's going to be. So I'm just like... No, I told you, please don't show up like this. That's not okay. So he decided that the address that was on the website, which is not the address for our physical location, it's my box. It's a not PO box. It's a UPS box. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have actually driven to that place thinking that they're going to find Mixedcandy the store. And that's not the case. Because if I had done that, I would have a ton of crazy showing up randomly because we get quite a few.
Yep.
It's just that some stand out more than others. And this guy really stood out because he was really, really like aggressive and weird about stuff. So I get this email and stuff and I posted it up. I mean, I showed it to Tori. Tori did like a look. He looked up who the person was and everything. And we sort of think we found the guy on Facebook. And it was whatever. I mean, it was just a person. So we're like, all right. This person does seem like they exist. The area where they said they lived is sort of the area where they described. I mean, all this stuff. So we thought, okay, it's probably that guy. So then I'm like, all right, he's being really aggressive through email. And I had mentioned it on Twitter saying like, please don't do this sort of stuff. And I actually got attacked by a lot of people saying like, you're making fun of somebody. This person probably has issues at home or just general issues and stuff. And I wasn't trying to make fun of it. I just said this is actually really dangerous. Like don't approach people like this. Like this isn't cool. Like don't get aggressive with makers or artists or anybody. Don't demand to come to their location because you said so. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way with anything. And this guy just thought, well, if he's aggressive and he's going to get his way. And I just said, look, please stop emailing us. We don't feel comfortable talking to you anymore. Like conversation over kind of thing. And that was the way I left it. I was like, please stop. I'm like, you don't seem to understand the word no. I don't know what else to tell you. You are not coming into our shop. You are not going to step foot here ever, pretty much. Leave us alone. So, okay. I didn't think much of it. Went to sleep, whatnot. The next day I had received some fabric, some stuff at the UPS store and I had to go pick it up. And I'm friends with the ladies that work there. And I've been like part of that UPS store since like 2005. So they know me really, really well. And I'm heading over there. And it was just one of those random times where I decided I'm going to call and see which boxes I have over there because I had the smart car, which is a small car. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I get boxes that are too big for the car. So I have to switch cars before I go over there. No big deal. I don't know why I called that day. Something made me call, and I talked to the lady that works there, and she said, hey, Val, can you like stall and not show up for maybe a little bit? And I'm just like, okay, that's a really weird response from you. Why are you saying that? And she's like, well, there's this man here and he won't leave, and he's very angry that he can't find out where Mixedcandy is. He's like, he's currently right outside the UPS store because we told him to stand outside. But he was in here for like 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, talking our ears off and talking about how we were a fake store, we didn't exist, Mixedcandy was a lie, all this stuff. The suits were never made. I mean, just everything's a scam. It was bad, and he's screaming it.
And hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, and funny. Yeah, it's like he's screaming it at the girl that works there, and she's just like, Val, I don't know what this was. The guy decided to bike from Davenport, which is not close at all to Claremont. It took a while, especially on a bicycle. That's why we call him Bicycle Man.
Yeah.
So when he arrived, he was wearing like all sorts of furry gear and stuff, and he was wearing a wolf tail. And he came in his bicycle, and when he walked in there, he was very sweaty. It's Florida. It's gross over here when you bike anywhere, especially with a ton of clothing on. And he decided to get really aggressive with them, and they didn't know how to get rid of them. I think they finally stopped talking to him because they said he finally stepped outside, and he's kind of pacing back and forth because he says he's going to find your place one way or another. And I'm just like, okay. So he stayed outside, I guess, waiting for me. So she was watching him and said, all right, I think he finally biked away.
Yeah.
So you can come over here. So I went into the UPS store. I finally went in. I talked to them. I apologized a million times over. I'm so sorry this happened to you guys. You guys don't deserve this sort of garbage to happen with this person. And they're like, it's fine. We think that guy needed like some help. Like, I think something was wrong. Like, he was extremely aggressive, extremely violent. I don't know. Something was up with him.
Yeah.
And it's funny because then I posted this up on Twitter the day after saying like, this is why we don't reveal locations for stuff. This is why we don't just open our doors to anybody, because you get psychos. Yep. Like people that will cause harm, people that will do stuff. And this isn't just a guy that's a homeless crackhead in the woods. This is a person that just, lives in a house in Davenport somewhere and, is a Facebook user. I mean, I'm not saying like every Facebook user is fine, but it's just like, that's really messed up. I'm like, this could happen to anybody. And that's why I've told a lot of makers and artists, spend the money and have a P.O. box. Spend the money and have a UPS, FedEx, whatever it is that you can have. Because your safety is just worth so much more
paramount
than you being cheap and not paying for a box or something like for the year. And that was one thing that I learned like the hard way. Because he was one that was a pretty negative one because he physically showed up.
Yeah.
And he showed up quick. And that was the part that really bothered
fast.
me.
It
was within like 2 days, this guy decided to take action into, I'm going to find out where you are and I'm going to find you. Personally, you. And he kept on telling them that I'll find her. I'll do anything in my power to find her.
That's not
creepy. And I'm just like, dude, I don't owe you anything. I don't know who you are. That's really messed up. And this sort of stuff, it makes you feel really uneasy. Since I had issues with other people in the past. But we've had moms drop off, like go with their kids to go find Mixedcandy.
Go with their kids.
And they, it's
hey,
hi Heather. And they treat it kind of like Disney World, like, hey, we're gonna go over there and it's not a working shop. It's just gonna be like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it's just a bunch of
yeah, exactly.
little magical beings working around, like everything is fine.
Welcome to the world of Mixedcandy.
Yeah, it's like no, I wish it was that fun, but it's like no, it's not. It's just we're actually working. It's like you walk.
No, it's just a crack of the whip. Get back to work.
It's just it doesn't work that way. So it's weird because you get all these parents, and they're just like, oh my God, I brought so-and-so. They want to come and see your shop, and they want to learn all this and that. I'm like, it's not that type of place where you can just
it's not like a guided
walk in.
tour.
Yeah, it's like this over here is the sewing studio. This is the fur. So.
Kyle Morris says, you guys seem to have the worst luck with dodgy randoms. I'm like, yeah.
Well, we've had, I mean, we have, it's predominantly good luck. It's just, these are like the bad stories that we're bringing up.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because I would get all these parents and, drop, like, taking their kids, like, it's like, let's go to the Crayola experience. Yeah. I'm like, no, it's not like that. And then I would get a nasty email. Where are you? We wasted our time. We drove all the way from so-and-so to go to Mixedcandy, and it wasn't there. You were a lie. It's like, wait. You showed up at the address that was on the website, and you just thought magically, like, hey, we'll just go do this. I'm like,
we'll just stop everything that we're doing, and we'll show you around
and we'll show you around. It's like, no, that's not how it works. So I've gotten that one a couple of times, and I've gotten it from, like, really entitled parents where it's been like, my child, like this meant everything to my child to see you, and I just, like, I don't know, like, pretty much why you're the meanest person, like, meanest, like, woman in the world. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I try to, like, protect my privacy and the people that work here.
Yep.
So it's just, it's just terrible. But
Heather says sharing interesting story. I'm like,
it's like, but we had that, and then we've had the one that's the internship one. And that one, I mean, that one's cute, but it's at the same time, it's like, I don't have the place or the ability to do an internship or anything like that, just because we're not that type of company that works like that. I think it's great that people want to learn and all that. But then you get the kids that go, I just want to learn so then I can make my own company. And it makes me go, really? That's like, hey, I work at Pepsi, but I'm going to go to Coca-Cola for a year, and I'm going to learn all the stuff, and then they're going to be A-okay when I start the other Pepsi-Cola mix company thing. And I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, this is just brain numbing. Like, don't do that. Like, this,
Yeah, exactly.
It comes down to the same thing with, like, I mean, when you appeal to a lot of people that are under a certain age, they don't understand. So then I get a lot of those emails that are just like, I hate you. I can't believe, like, you ruined my life with this. And I'm like, oh, like, you'll understand when you're older. It's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but no, you can't work here. Like, you can't do all this stuff. And the thing is like, we've gone through a lot of different people at Mixedcandy at the shop. We tested people that were in the fandom, outside of the fandom.
Oh, yeah, cutie dogs.
Yes, they see the doggies. But I don't know. We've had good and bad luck with both.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we've had older people work for us, younger people work for us. I mean, it's like all sorts of stuff. People with a lot of experience. When you came, you didn't know anything.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to use a sewing machine.
And we decided that we wanted to test out somebody who didn't know anything and teach them everything from zero so they didn't have bad habits that would pass over. Because we had somebody that worked for us before, and she knew how to sew, she knew how to put things together, but at the same time she had bad habits that were hard to take out of somebody.
You can't be prideful. Constructive criticism is always key.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you should be proud of your work and everything that you do, but it comes
like
down to
like in a negative way.
Yeah, it's like don't be full of yourself. I mean, I guess don't have like a giant ego when you're working with stuff. It's like everybody makes mistakes. We all still
always
make
learn
mistakes.
To adapt and overcome.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, and when you don't, then it doesn't really work.
No.
But going back to being at the shop, one thing I did want to bring up quickly was how expensive it was to have a commercial place compared to a residential place. The one thing that really shocked me was how expensive, like, the internet was. Mm-hmm. Because right now we have much faster internet that we had at the shop, and I was paying double the price over at that place just because it had to be a business internet. And everything was like that. And the problem is you started to get a lot of advertising for things that looked like you legally had to have them, but a lot of the stuff were scams, like those the posters that we had, all the safety posters and everything. A lot of these I could have printed them out myself, but I got a company that, like, hooked me in and pretty much catfished me into believing that they were the company I had to go with, and it was like, okay, $600 later down the toilet for something that I should have technically not paid anything at all. they caught me, and they were trying to do subscription stuff, and it went up and up and up every like 6 months. It was ridiculous. I finally was like, I don't know what small company survives like this. Like, this is dumb. And then I started finding out all these little scams that local places will jump on with new companies going into like commercial places, and they know that they can get money out of you. So that was one thing to keep in mind. Random inspections. That was the other thing. We had to get the fire department coming in, checking all our plugs, checking everything. Nothing could be connected all the time. It was just really odd stuff that the fire department had to do. And it was the same thing with like all the fire extinguishers, all this stuff. I mean, we have fire extinguishers here. We have all those things, but everything had to be at a specific code, and then everything was like checked all the time and expensive. It was like over and over and over.
Very pricey.
And it was one of those things that I'm like, I don't think that Mixedcandy needs to have this sort of place, because it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Unless you were dealing with people coming in and treating it as a storefront. I think it's fantastic if you're trying to run it as a storefront, but if you're not, it's expensive for no reason. And that was the thing that we really learned during the 2 years. Like, there were pluses and there were minuses about having the place. Renting was an experience. It also showed us what was the smallest size that we could potentially work in. Yeah. And then what was probably maybe a little too much space, but then at the same time you're like, well, I could grow into this. It also showed us like the way the rooms were set up, how well it worked, how some stuff did not work. And this current place that we're in right now is set up like a home because it's a home, and it's actually worked out really well.
Yeah, I love it. I love this place.
And it's worked out really, really nice. And the other thing is the other place was so poorly insulated that my bill for like air conditioning was ridiculous, and it never got cold right. And when it did, it was like freezing, and then it was hot, and it was just back and forth. It was terrible. So it was a lot of experimenting, a lot of learning, but I don't regret having rented the place for 2 years. I also don't regret having left it and then bought my own place for the shop. So it's been good.
Yeah, it's been a good experience.
It's been a really good experience. So,
and before we head out, I also just want to give out a massive shout out to all the love and appreciation of people that have helped me when it comes into choosing my fursona. I officially got a new one, as you can see in the picture, and I'm really excited in the future to.
Well, but you have to explain. You wanted a black wolf.
Yes.
Because you said you want like black because you like black wolves. So I had a little bit of gray and stuff because you said you like gray. Mm-hmm. But then you named it Jessie. But why did you name it Jessie?
I named the suit Jessie because my brothers and I, growing up, we've always had people come up to us and been like, "Oh wow, you look like John Stamos from Full House." And I was like, "Full House? John Stamos? His name is Jesse, or Uncle Jesse." And I just stuck with Jessie the wolf. So
that's where his character came from. I know people had asked me before, like, "Oh, you're gonna make him into a suit?" It's like, no, we're just using them as avatars, kind of like how I use my Vixen as an avatar. Yeah. Then you use Jesse. You're going to be using him as an avatar.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have to get him to do a Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
For the character.
Oh, that'll be soon enough.
Yeah, so we'll see on that one. But so Kyle says, do you have any issues with people like Bicycle Man at the convention? Feel free to pass answering. Okay, but so I don't usually have really bad issues. Like, Andres hasn't been to a con yet in the States. So you don't know if we deal with this stuff.
I mean, I was at Megaplex.
But that was, like, brief.
Yeah, it was brief, yeah.
Yeah. But aside from that, like, it's not normal. Every once in a while, you'll get some people that are, questionable or not, you're not very comfortable around them, but never, like, aggressive. I usually don't get, like, really aggressive people. And when you're around that many people, it's not too bad. It feels safer.
Yeah, exactly. Aw, thank you, Heather. Love the Mixedcandy furries. They're so cute.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So thank you, guys, for watching the stream.
Thank you.
We are doing this every Thursday. We started at 7 or 7-ish. Since today I had, again, issues with Streamlabs because, I don't know, it seems to be the thing happening all the time. I do apologize that the microphone wasn't working at the beginning. But we are getting all the kinks out. And right now, like I said, it's 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to run it every Thursday unless I write it on my Twitter that we're going to run it another day. But we're trying to do it every Thursday for now. So thank you again, guys. It was awesome and love talking to you guys. And if you guys have any suggestions for like future streams and stuff, since we're doing it once a week, be sure to @ me on Twitter at LatinVixen, and then whatever your name is going to be, hopefully soon. And I'll link that back on my Twitter as well. And as always, I gotta say this, subscribe if you want to see more stuff on YouTube. Bye, guys.
Bye.